Small speck might be a bad choice. Aw, poor little dude. And then I, of course, some of you guys can do this too. I can pick my color. Let's see, what do I want to be?
Whoa. That's some next level stuff. I can't see that.
Magenta. Green. All right. Now here's what's going to suck. Hit graph. See what happens. Nothing. It's all bullshit, Jeff. I'm out of here. So the problem is the calculator. Some of you guys have the coordinate axes maybe showing up, but nobody, or very few of you should have actual data points showing up, right? The calculator is programmed to look at a certain window. So how do I make it find my data? We'll go to Zoom and see which one of those you should do. Anytime you put new data in, you should do this. Older calculators, you might have to scroll down a bit, but obviously, which one of those do I want to do? Zoom stat. Holy shit, yeah. So if you hit that, you hit number 9, everybody should end up with this. Let me know if you don't, or if you get an error. Holy shit. Oh, I know what. Go stat plot. It's got L1 and L. What's this have L1 and L2? L1 and L2 are fine. Oh, this dude. Holy crap. Yep. When you get that changed, do Zoom 9 again. Everybody got it? Oh, wait a second. In the plot one. You just didn't pick the scout. That one. Now hit Zoom 9. Go to. I did. Shit, somebody put in there. Way too funky for us. All right. Yeah. Let me show you guys how to get on I think go to. Always go to. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Now hit How's everybody else doing?
We have 4 tips.
All right. Everybody else okay? Okay. Now, before we make the calculator do this calculation for us, I do want to show you. Whoa.
Oh my.
Now, something I want to point out. Now, we're not going to use this formula. I just said that, so some of you will stop paying attention, but for the rest of you still paying attention, just go with me for a second. This really kicks a lot of ass, and I know I say that sometimes. Do you guys remember the formula for this? It was, right? You could rearrange this. Oh, let's see, it's been too long since you did this, Jeff. Let's see if I remember it. Oh, I know. Oh, shit. You could actually, remember we did a little bit of work with the summation symbol and we kind of played with it? You could rearrange this, I think it's to become like this. And then if you multiply both sides by n squared, actually, Do you see how that is actually a part of the standard deviation? So that's the standard deviation of the x's related to it. That's related to the standard deviation of the y's. Why does it make sense that those two things show up in this? Because it's supposed to be a two-dimensional standard deviation. So it's really kind of cool that the formula is built on both the x and y standard deviation. Now the top, what do you think the top is? This is standard deviation of x's, this is standard deviation of y's. The top is like a standard deviation of both together. A mixture of x and y. So that is the formula that we have developed for R. Do we really have to worry about it? No. Do you have to worry about anything I just said? Not really. But it's kind of nice. It verifies that this is a two-dimensional standard deviation. So how does this calculator calculate it for us? Or where do you think I should go to calculate something statistically? We've done this before. Where do you go when you have to calculate something based on your lists? Say again, stat? Then I want to calculate something. Go to calc. And which one looks like what I'm working with right now? They use a different letter. They don't like the whole French thing, right? This is like the people that was calling them freedom fries and all that kind of bullshit back in the day. So we're not going to use M, Marche, we're going to use A. So which one is going to make a line for me? Two of them, actually, which is really remarkably stupid. I'm going to use number 4. Some of you guys can't even see number 8, but you do have a number 8 on there. Do you see how this one, the B is the slope, and that one, the A is the slope? And that's the only, there's no reason to have both of those on there. TI, of course, won't tell me anything about the way they hardwire the calculators, because I could be a competitor, who knows? So I have no idea why that's in there. Number 4, and this is the technical name for what we're doing is linear regression. So what is like the best correlation if all the points regress to the line? It's sort of like central limit theorem. It's the same kind of idea. I come to the mean. I regress to the line because the line is the mean. So this is called linear regression, which sounds like, did the line have past lives? But no. So everybody do number 4. So you have L1, L2. Make sure it's L1, L2. Don't worry about all this other stuff. We don't have a frequency list, so we're not going to worry about that. Don't worry about this yet. So make sure it's L1, L2, and then hit calculate. And don't feel gypped if you don't have all the same information I do. Yes, sir. Anybody else missing the R squared and the R? All right. Stay with me now. You ready? Okay. We're going to do one little thing. It's going to bring all that back. And what we're about to do is not going to change anything fundamentally about the calculator. It's a holdover from when calculators had less processing power. So you had the option to turn off all these what they call extraneous calculations. But nowadays, what the shit? Our calculators have more processing power than the first mission to the moon had. I think we can manage. Anyway, I'm sorry. So if you don't have this showing up, the R and the R squared, you only have to do what I'm about to do once. If it's your own calculator, right? So everybody else is sit. If you got R showing up, just sit back. Everybody who's not having R show up, do this. Second, 0. See how it says catalog up above? I can't remember we've been in here before. What am I drinking, man? I can't speak. Oh yeah, okay. That's some good shit. This is a list of everything your calculator can do. What's the very first thing? Absolute value, right? So do this for me. Does everybody see the button that's got the letter D above it? Right there, see how? Your X to the -1 button's got the letter D. So if you hit that button, you should go to the D section of the list. And there's a function called day of the week. Have you guys ever seen, it's normally, for some reason, it's normally like an 8-year-old kid, you can say 1983, January 11th, and it'll go, Tuesday. You know, so it's basically, yeah, exactly. So you got to give up a little bit to get that power. But I think that's what the day of the week, I always think, let me look up what the inputs are, and I always forget to do that. But I want to scroll down to what's called diagnostic on. Is everybody with me on this? That needs to be. Go to diagnostic on, hit enter, enter. Yeah, it's very anticlimactic. Enter, enter. Yes, yes. Now do this. Is everybody with me? Hit second enter, second enter. Do you see how I don't have to go through all that bullshit? And then, you're right? Second enter brings up the last couple things you did. And then hit enter. And now everybody should have all of this showing up. Let me know if you still have issues.
So after this is what?
Oh, just. So I was saying do this. Oh shit, you already did that once. Just go back in here, do this again. Bam. Now you get your R showing up. Yes. Oh, now you gotta go back and tell it to go to stat. Cal. Or. Bam. There you go. Enter. Bam. And now hit second enter. Second enter. Okay. It just comes back to that. Good. You don't have to do the second enter thing. You can just go back into calc, make it do the regression again. I don't need, right?
Yes.
No. What the hell is this strange?
Oh, no.
I don't know if I should.
That would have freaked me out if it wasn't.
Oh, shit, yeah.
It's the old Maytag Everybody else all right? Now, real quick. What picture does this go with? I try to make the picture, go back to the picture real quick. This data comes from this. Is that cool? You guys see that? The very first graph. You guys with me? So I try to mimic the first graph. I kind of guessed at a scale because I just sort of plopped a bunch of points down to make that up, but then I try to make it into data so I can get it on this. What did we say about the strength of this? Should it be very strong? No. It's negative. -1 would mean it's so freaking strong it's perfect, right? Perfect cell. So this is definitely going to be closer to what? 0. But it's still going to be a little bit negative, which is exactly what we see. What do you guys get for your R value? Yeah, -0.339. Definitely closer to 0 than to -1 because it's not a very strong correlation. Maybe? So how do we answer these questions? Let's see, I have some questions on here. What do you get for R? Is this a strong correlation? No. What kind of correlation is it? Weak? Negative? And then the line of best fit, you can just write it down. If you use the line of best fit to make a prediction, that's sort of like the next level of what to do with these. Would you trust the prediction you get? We kind of already answered the question. How much do you trust this line? To do what? To accurately reflect the data. We already know that do we or do we not? We do not. Why? Because the R value is so freaking tiny, right? The closer it is to 1 or -1, the more I trust it. And I will actually give you a value that once you get past it, it means that correlation exists. But the closer I am to 1 or -1, the stronger the correlation. The further away I am, the weaker the correlation. So what I try to do is give you problems that are clearly one or the other. So you don't have to worry about like you're tasting wine. You're trying to, well, it's got hints of strength, So either it's going to be strong or it's going to be weak. It's not going to be sort of strong, it's kind of weak, sort of with hints of strength. And so I try to make it very clearly one or the other so you're not trying to figure out what kind of adjective to use to describe it. How we doing? A little bit? You guys do this data all by yourself. Then I'll do it with you, and then we'll take a break.
No. I know.
Hmm? Yeah.
Well, I broke around.
Totally forgot.
That was way too fucking
That should be like.
So why would he
like
ask
I
you?
forget, and that must be you. Thank you.
No, I was running.
Anybody else not get their test back yet?
I'll try to keep it. It's probably gonna act.
I know.
What do you want from me, dog? We'll ask him.
You have to put the values. Like, those all be printed. A is negative 2.54 roughly, X plus 89.3. Just So, right here, guys, what's the line of best fit for this? It's y equals negative 2.54x, right, roughly? Plus 89.83. Is everybody with me on that? A little bit? Of course, one thing I forgot was how to plot that in the calculator. We'll do that on this one. So it tells you what A is, it tells you what B is. So you just fill them in. That's all.
What? They're not the same numbers.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with you now. Oh wait, yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's classic.
What?
Bro, I actually got from the one. I put 2 in the one part.
Oh, shit. Number 9, zoom stat. Let's see what it says. Zoom stat. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And get your line. That's figured out.
Did you get that?
Oh, no, I got let's just average those two. Sorry.
How many decimal places do you usually get to for R?
3.
Wait, what's your
Or 4.
I just say right now.
Just that. Should write it down. Let's just try to process.
Yeah.
Why am I getting like
Of course, you can't use that. Yeah. It's nice to have it anyway.
Or it's just me?
Zoom 9.
Yeah. That's what sucks.
Oh.
You don't need L1. Okay.
No.
So go back to your list.
Isn't it strong because it's
Highlight L1
it's closer to zero?
until it equals L3.
Because it's positive.
I don't know why it's me.
Because it's negative.
Equals,
Because it's
oh, no, no.
from zero.
You're at L1 now.
Here.
So tell it L1 equals L3.
What is it? Negative?
For L4.
Wait,
And then,
so it means the,
I don't know the boundaries.
I don't know, it's because it's on this side, and if it's closer to one.
so everybody got this at least showing up?
Because it's over.
How are you guys doing on your calculations? Let's see if we all get the same thing. No, Jeff. There you go, buddy. So I get this. How do you guys, does that look like the same thing, or no?
No. Yes.
Okay. So let's write down some stuff. R is 0.738. Is that strong? It's, you know, decently strong.
So where
Why
did
did
you
you
say
say
that
that?
things up now?
Huh? Now again, like I said,
strong.
when you are on your own, when I give you a problem to do completely on your own, graded, I'm gonna make it very clearly one or the other. So you don't have to figure out what adjective to use or something, or adverb in this case, right? So it's adverb, adjective, no. Lee? No. This is decently strong, it's definitely closer to 1. What kind of correlation is it? Positive. So decently strong positive correlation. The line at best fit, what do you guys get for the line at best fit?
Y equals 0.657x plus 70.967.
Kick ass, I like it. And don't round too much. So this is perfect. Now here's the part that I didn't show you before. So let me make sure. Is everybody with me on all this stuff here? Is everybody good? All right. Where should I go in the calculator to put this in? Probably the button that says y equals. So go to y equals and put in here 0.657. Here's your x button right there. There's your x button. 0.657x. Where'd it go? Plus 70.967. Yes? And then hit graph, because you already did the zoom thing. And you should get something very satisfying. X, right there. Plus, and then just keep typing it, plus 70.967. Now you graph. Graph. Way up in the corner. There you go. How is everybody? You guys, everybody got that showing up? So watch. Last thing, and then we'll take a break. Remind me, for this problem, what are these again? So again, yes? X values. And what are these? Holy shit. So if I put, let's say, 10 into the equation, why won't the y come out to be exactly 75? Because my r is only 0.738, right? It's a decent approximation, not a very strong approximation. So let's see what we get. If we do. So I'm making a prediction now, because I trust my line, because r is decently large. If we plug x equal to 10 in, let's see what it predicts y would be. Are you guys with me? This is algebra again. Now that we have an equation, we can use it. So if I do 0.657 times 10, or 70.967, I end up with 77.537. And the actual grade, somebody that did 10, what was it, studied 10 hours? So we get, for an approximation, we get 77.537. And the actual data point is 75. That's pretty close, considering that R isn't exactly 1. The closer R gets to 1, the better the predictions it makes will be. Yes?
What about when there's like two X values that are the same? How do you get different outputs?
Oh, you gotta, what do these rows represent? Each row represents a what? A person, right? It's a person's information, how much time they studied, and what grade they made. Two people studied the same amount of time. Are they going to make the same grade? No, because what is a huge shortcoming of this is it can only do two variables at once. How many variables go into somebody's grade? Yeah, just roughly a shit ton. I like it. And the last piece of this that's not going to be terribly important. I don't know if anybody is curious about why the calculator seems to waste time telling me what R squared is. And this is what R squared means. I'm not going to test you on this, but R squared is a measure of the percentage of change in Y that is explained by the change in X. So it's sort of as a percentage of what a percentage of the changes in Y is explained by the variable you're looking at. So 54% in this sample of the changes in the grades can be explained by the differences in how much somebody studied. So some other variable might have an 8% part of that, maybe what you ate for breakfast, right? And then something else is the beers thing, and maybe that's a 12% thing. And you guys, that's why R squared is kind of like reported. If you do this in Excel, it only gives you R squared. Because to be honest, that's kind of like more generally useful. Maybe. That's interesting. And again, whenever I say that phrase, I'm not going to test you on this. Some people are like, well, then screw this shit, then. But it's kind of nice to know that that's the bigger picture. This only analyzes two variables at once. And how many variables go into almost anything? An insane amount. Right? Okay, I like it. So that's why that R squared telling me what it does is really kind of nifty. So, let's take a break. And then I'm going to have another little thing for you guys to do. We're actually going to construct your own linear equation not using the calculator. Yeah.